No, this is not a Hollywood blockbuster. The planes crashing into these towers are real. And these buildings crashed to the ground, including one that wasn't hit by anything at all. The American population was terrorized, hypnotized, and traumatized by repetitive showings of the devastation, with the media repeating over and over that it was a terrorist attack.
Race don't matter, your faith don't matter, the enemy is government tyranny, all that other shit don't matter.
What's good, everyone? I am going to have to do this part 3 over again because I can't find it anywhere in my phone, which is odd. So let's get started. I don't want to talk too much. So it's called Fire and Ice, Magical Teachings of Germany's Greatest Secret Occult Order. Saturn, Gnosis. The Gnosis of the Fraternitas Saturni equals FS. It is a complex set of magical doctrines. These include a special path of initiation, as well as a complete astral or planetary cosmosophy and a Luciferian element. In many regards, the Saturn Gnosis is in accordance with what is known as the Ophite and Barbello Gnostic sects of iniquity. Gnosis is a form of knowledge concerning the cosmos to which the individual feels called or elected, and which is based not on a belief in certain dogmas, but rather on deep personal experience. Although in ancient times, Gnosticism existed in a myriad of often mutually incompatible sects, or sectors, not sects, if you know what I mean. There were certain doctrines common to most of them. First, they held that there existed a Godhead beyond all categories, as well as a threefold God subsisting in the fullness of being pleroma, or light. This divine realm is fullness of being transcends the place in the world where matter exists. These two realms are separated by a greater barrier, Horos or Ouroboros. How these realms became separate is a matter of diverse speculation, however. What is certain among the Gnostics is that our material world was not created by the God of light, but rather by an entity that resulted from a deficiency in the pleroma. The deficiency came about either through progressive degeneration, as the outflow of being got further and further from its source, or through a conscious withdrawal of divine with thelma from the outer reaches. But whatever process, lesser independent entities arose in the graduated levels called aeons of the new cosmos. These entities were called archons. One of these archons is the entity of or demiurge that created our world of matter. This entity is identified by some Gnostics with Jehovah or Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament. Finally, it was held that man, as a mixed entity consisting of elements with origins in both the world of light of God and the world of darkness of the demiurge, could only be redeemed by knowledge, gnosis. This knowledge was a direct experience of being, not something acquired by learning or even by conclusions reached by logical methods. The demiurge, Jehovah, demanded faith, pistis or pistis. The good God could only be reached through gnosis. The Saturnarian archetype. From the perspective of FS teachings, the essence of the planets are complex entities. The central focus of the brotherhood in the Saturnian complex, which we will refer to here as an archetype. From an Aeonic perspective, the planetary complex surrounding Uranus is also important in FS teachings. And the Saturn Gnosis, the planet and archetype of Saturnus, is the focal point for the manifestation of the demiurge. This demiurge is identified with Lucifer, the bearer of false light, as the higher octave of Saturn. According to the secret FS teachings, Saturnus is the great judge that manifests justice. He is the lord of the 7 dwellings, equals planetary genie of the outer realm, and governor of the revealed world, and lord over life and death, and over the light and darkness. Saturnus is seen as the breaker of cosmic order and unity. Thus he instituted death, causing regeneration and change to come into being. This demiurge, Saturnus, is identified with the number 666. He is the beast 666, manifest in the man or men 666. So when they say 666 is man, it was manifested through men. I get it now. And in the living center of the sun, Sorath 666. Besides these general teachings on the nature of the demiurge Saturnus, the FS has a special doctrine particular to it concerning an entity attached to the planet Saturn and active on Earth, called the Gatos. This is the specific egregore or dominion of the Brotherhood, of which the Grand Master 33rd degree is the personal representative. The Gatos functions in a way similar to the way the secret chiefs worked in the Golden Dawn system. The belief of this system of lodges having hidden praeterhuman intelligence at their esoteric heads and commonly held in the FS. Members would, for example, say that Baphomet was the lodge dominion of the Knights Templar. The dominion Gatos is understood as the pre-existing entity, but it is also used in the egregore of the lodge. An egregore is a sort of group spirit or thought form magically created by a community of people from its collective ideals. The egregore can be seen in the collective hypnotic suggestion, which can be experienced directly, if subjectively, by the participants in rituals wherein the egregore is invoked. This tends to take an objective reality as the experience of the egregore becomes an experience that is shared within lodges. Gatos is defined in the following terms. The Gatos, as a magnetic accumulator in the Saturn sphere, stores projected magical powers in the causal sphere through the chain of brotherhood. Astrognosis. As the name of the order indicates, the Fraternitas Saturni places a heavy emphasis on astrological doctrines or astrosophy. The teachings which involve Saturn are derived from a basically Gnostic cosmology, in which the planet Saturn is identified with the demiurge and with the guardian of the threshold, Hutter der Schwelle, who comes between the initiate rising through the planetary spheres and their access to the firmament and the false light, as mentioned before. The archetype of Saturn, as portrayed in the FS, is a manifold which fits into a complex cosmology. According to FS doctrines, on the 7th day of creation, an angel, Lucifer, which is Saturn, emanated from the Absolutum, equals the Kabbalistic Ein Sof. I don't know. This angel was given rulership over the outermost sphere and became the guardian of time and eternity. This entity stood at the outer limits of the limitless, girding itself in space and being in all creation. The Gnostics also sometimes ascribe this function to Leviathan, the outer boros, the serpent at the edge of the firmament, grasping its own tail. This angel or god rebelled against the static, established cosmic order, and set into motion the forces of change and evolution, which is also implied death and destruction. This rebellion is referred to into Judeo-Christian mythology as the war in heaven, and the angel or daemon is sometimes identified as Hebrew, Abaddon, or Greek, Apollyon. Reference to this may be found in Isaiah 14:12-15, and in Revelation 9:1. By breaking the static cosmic order, the rebel, Lucifer, became the creator of the visible world. This battle still rages between the polar opposites of the outer Saturnine sphere and the inner solar logos, with the Earth in the middle as the main field of battle. Saturn twilight language and communism. There's a Saturn symbol. This is the post someone had sent to me, and I thought it was excellent, so I am posting it here. I added the title Saturn Sigil, Hammer and Sickle, and Communist Flag, Illuminism. Saturnalia is communism. The glyph for the Saturn is compromised of a cross with an elongated bottom T and a backwards S connected to the bottom, ST, Satan, can be expressed hieroglyphically as a $sign symbolizing the serpent, and the T, the cross, or the tree of life. It is the life, the serpentine force pushing through the growing point, threshold, or sight. Through pairing of the S and T, strongly ascends foundation, the seat of consciousness. Set, the oldest Egyptian god, forms the basis of all other gods and being. So, basic or low, he is considered evil. I'll add, originally the crucifix was represented by a cross with the serpent on it. The body of Jesus on the cross came much later. We are into primal stuff here, and Saturn is the one who held the boundary to the universe as we knew it for thousands of years. Linguistically, Saturn, saint, or saint words abound with Saturnian meaning. Here are just a few. Saturn, structure, status, state, constriction, construction, stern, set, stone, stuck, stand, resist, test, stasis, system, stabilize, establish, estate, standard, crystallize, stress, constant, stiff, obstinate, list, strain, strict, statement, etc. How do you give additional structure to our number system with ST, of course? We measuring things against the first and the last. How do you give structure to countries with statues of state, structure, urban geography, with postal, street addresses? How do you set something in memory, study it, give it structure to process with start and stop? We even have a part speech built around the ST of Saturn. Adjectives describe things. Saturn defines the outer limit of things. It is the limit of our sensory perceptions. Big, bigger, biggest, hot, hotter, hottest, many more, most, etc. All adjectives have a comparative and superlative form. The superlative form is the limit. You cannot get any colder than the coldest. ST is Saturn. It is the limit. And here are some symbols. The anchor. And they just switch the anchor. They lean it a little bit. Pretty interesting. The flower of life, a black magic symbol. The flower of life is the modern name given to a geometrical figure composed of multiple, evenly spaced, overlapping circles. They are arranged with a six-fold symmetry. The most common form of the flower of life is hexagonal pattern, where the center of each circle is on the circumference of 6 surrounding circles of the same diameter. Notice the hexagon on Saturn. Reason 62. The knowledge of the organic cube was taken from Egypt, now given the title the flower of life. The Egyptians used this to visually encase matter within it. This is what is used to move things, especially large objects, around with their minds, meditating on this geometric shape incorrectly will help solidify the cube frame of the body we are already trapped in. Thus, it is not the chariot. The real purpose for these shapes is an art called tesseract, which is the shape you see in the right. This is for bringing things into this dimension from the fourth. 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. Our body is the carbon structure of the cube, the beast. But now our spirit, the flower of life, later became Metatron's cube when the lines were made straight. Now this has a lot to do with today's, with that 666, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. Look into it. Plus the carbon. Carbon has a lot to do, and I'm not going to get into that with this video, but I'll do it in another one. As you can see here, these visuals. Solomon's seal, which is the Star of David, was designed to trap things. When Solomon would seal gin in bottles, he would put the Star of David on top. Even Metatron's cube, which has hit the #1 spot in sacred geometry, is none other than a hex used time and time again to keep souls which are seeking higher truth, passing back and forth between this demented dimension and Saturn. It is a mental weakening tool, as many have already admitted, since its main purpose only to weaken the cube. It should never be placed in the mind. In the world grid, which invisibly encircles the planet, or planet, which I call it, is based on the complex flower of life, and the hexagon/hexagram. The diameter of the first circle was calculated by drawing a line from Orkney to Stonehenge. Coincidentally, the line happens to pass through Roslin Chapel, which is exactly in the middle. This could be the real Rose Line. All of Europe's ancient sites, stone circles symbolizing the flower, can be found lying on one of these lines. The grid also links all these ancient sites together. Many of the oldest sacred sites lie at the center of 6 points. Also, the flower symbol is charged. If you stare at it long enough, you can see the outline of any desire. In fact, many secret societies still use this image to pass along messages. Let me lower this a little bit so we can get a better clear of these pictures. That's odd, and it's got the circle of the 12, and then she's kind of like in the cross in the center of the realm. Food for the moon. The moon is more than just a pale satellite of interest to poets and astronomers. Its influence goes beyond merely creating ocean tides or driving biological cycles. More importantly, the moon exerts a significant influence upon the mechanical, emotional, and psychological state in man. The werewolf myth and superstition concerning full moon lunacy are not far from the truth. Certain lunar phases heighten the possibility for emotionally draining situations and stimulate reactivity and sensitivity in vulnerable individuals. Personal observation reveals what numerous esoteric sources have explained at length, namely that we are food for the moon. Gurdjieff Uspensky, fourth wave philosophy aims to strip man of his mechanical behavior and hypnotic programming in order to build within him a core